MMOs give people an opportunity to interact with the world in a way that nothing else quite does. Create amazing, lifelong friendships, pull off incredible feats that you could only think of doing in your dreams, cast fireballs, save the world, own a house. This escape, while full of fantasy and above all comforting, actually can still give the player something substantial in the real world. Experience is transferable, and learning something in one sphere will often allow you to apply that experience elsewhere. So then, what can games teach you? Old School Runescape provides an experiential learning platform for macroeconomic principles. The game's players, whether they realize it or not, are engaging with complex economic concepts, making decisions based on market trends, experiencing the consequences of their actions in a simulated economic environment. They learn through first-hand experience the principles that drive real-world economies, equipping them with an intuitive understanding that can be applied beyond the game's pixelated boundaries. Old School Runescape is more than just a game. It's an interactive, engaging, and unintended classroom for macroeconomics. So let's start by talking a little bit more about economics. The Old School Runescape economy operates on a grand scale, with thousands of players participating in trade, supply and demand dynamics, currency fluctuations, and even speculation-based activities akin to stock market investing. This complex network of economic interactions can equip its participants with practical insights into the workings of a real-world economy. So at the heart of any economic system is the fundamental concept of supply and demand, a principle strongly at play in Old School Runescape. Various in-game items, from simple commodities like wood or fish to high-end armor and weapons, are traded in the Grand Exchange. Now, if you don't know what the Grand Exchange is, it's a central trading hub that you can kind of think of like a stock market. The prices of items on this stock market fluctuate based on their availability, supply, and the desire of players to acquire them, the demand. Players quickly learn to adjust their strategies based on these dynamics to maximize their in-game wealth. Some people make their entire wealth just gaming the Grand Exchange, mirroring the actions of real-world businesses. So the basic principle here is that if an item becomes useful somehow, people buy it and the price goes up. Supply and demand is something that is intrinsic to Old School Runescape and continues to be a staple. If you play the game for any length of time, you understand this concept. If you go to business school, they'll charge you $40,000 per year to learn the name for this concept. The competitive dynamics seen in Old School Runescape offer a microcosm of market competition and monopolies. Certain in-game locations or resources can only be effectively exploited by a limited number of players at a time, especially when a new item or a boss is released. This mad dash creates competitive pressure, leading to an understanding of monopolistic competition and oligopolies. Similarly, some powerful players or clans may monopolize high-demand resources, exhibiting monopolistic behaviors and their effects on a market. Now, this was much more common in the early years of Old School Runescape, but it still allows players an understanding of the pump and dump schemes that recently plagued the cryptocurrency market. It's my estimation that if someone fell for one of these schemes in-game, then they probably didn't fall for it in real life, while many who never had the opportunity to learn such a hard lesson had to learn it with real money. Thank God I was scammed so many times in Old School Runescape. Inflation is another concept from macroeconomics that is starkly observable in the Old School Runescape economy. The in-game currency, gold, can lose its value over time due to various factors like the continuous influx of gold from monster drops or raids, for example. This mirrors the effects of excessive money printing and other inflation factors in the real world. Players must strategize to safeguard their wealth against such inflation. This is often done by investing in valuable items. This really resembles real-world strategies to hedge against inflation. Old School Runescape also teaches its players about investment and risk assessment. The Grand Exchange allows players to speculate on item prices. You can buy an item low and you can sell it when it's high, and you can increase your gold count that way. The price of items will often change based on patch notes or even tweets from devs announcing that the game mechanics will be changing. This means that the price of items changes based not on the stats of the items themselves, but on the expectation that they will change. This is super similar to speculation trading. Trading effectively like this requires a deep understanding of the game's market trends, upcoming updates, and player behaviors. All of this mimics the complexities and uncertainties of real-world investing. Someone who understands the concepts of making money in the Grand Exchange only needs a little coaching to be a good investor in the real-world stock market. Okay, let's move on from economics and let's move on to the next major thing that you can learn from Old School Runescape, and that is time management. Yeah, I know. Me saying that a game like Old School Runescape can improve your time management skills might be hilarious, but hear me out. There's a few lessons that can be learned in old school RuneScape that can certainly move over if you understand just how they work, so let's try to get into it. Earning experience in-game is a key part of it. Learning how to level up in the most efficient way possible is an exciting and fun part of the game, but at what point does learning that new method eclipse just going out and getting the experience? Maybe you need to get a different item for the new method. Maybe you need to unlock a different area. All of this takes time, and if your ultimate goal is just the level, then just using the method that you already have available may have actually been faster. So then something slower actually ended up being faster? Yeah, and that's actually often how real life works too. Getting stuff done just by doing it will often yield better results than trying to theorize the best possible way to do something. This is a really difficult concept for some people to understand. How could something slower ever be faster than a faster method? Recognizing that the time it took learning that method had a cost is the lesson. And it's one that you'll learn in old school RuneScape if you play enough. Okay, now let's go over the last one, and that is goal setting. So this one might be a no-brainer, but it's key. Setting goals is something that people have actually dedicated their careers to. There are people that just go around and tell people what they should do with their lives, and this is a really important part of our society. It can be as easy as just picking something and sticking to it, but goal setting is actually often much more difficult than that. In such an expansive game such as old school RuneScape, you'll find yourself pretty quickly in a spot where you're not exactly sure what to do. Now you have a decision. Do I train a specific level? Do I try to get a certain set of armor? Do I work on the requirements for a quest? What do I do? If you pick one thing, switch, do the other thing for a while, switch again, you'll find yourself burned out and not making any progress. This is the neat thing about old school RuneScape. Your progress is clearly marked. When you haven't made any progress, it's pretty obvious. In real life, it's not that way, so this is key. In old school RuneScape, if you find yourself burned out and not making any progress, you'll naturally start at the top, set a goal for yourself, find that if you stick to it, the game is more enjoyable and you're making progress. Being able to take this skill into the real world is key. Understanding that you have to choose something and make progress, and then you have to stick to that thing in order to see fruit from it, is something that fully grown adults with fully formed careers still haven't grasped. Understanding this in RuneScape will put you miles ahead of everybody else. So now, the amazing thing about this is that if you played this game for any amount of time, you already have a lot of this experience. All I needed to do was just point it out for you, and you can access it, and you can apply it to your life. You have experience in macroeconomics, microeconomics, goal setting, time management. How can you apply this new knowledge into your job, your school, your life? Let me know in the comments if you thought of any practical uses for the things we talked about, and if you can think of any others that I might have missed. Ooh, old school RuneScape, a game of magic, exploration, social clubs, backstabbing, a community that is more masochistic and determined than I've seen anywhere else. Through all of this, it also serves unwittingly as a fascinating teaching tool for various subjects that you might pay to learn in college. So if you made it this far, you're a real trooper. Thank you for listening. I'm Zach, and I'll see you in the next video.